tonight on KGW News.
You can definitely tell that there's been a lot less people coming in to dine.
Bars and restaurants struggle to stay afloat. How one group hopes to get them more relief to stay open. Plus, keeping students safe. Colleges in Oregon weigh in on booster shots, but not all schools are making it a requirement. And next, 2 cities, 1 goal. The event that's honoring those who have died living on the streets. Your news starts now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Falkers in tonight for Laurel. And we start with a night of remembrance for those who died this past year while living on the street. Catherine Cook takes us to vigils in both Portland and Vancouver, each with a powerful message.
Know how it feels to be down and out.
Tonight is going to be special.
Remembering those who lived and died on the street.
People need a landing spot. People deserve to be remembered.
With candlelight, they hope to shed light on a crisis and honor those forgotten by so many, even when they were still alive.
They were every bit our neighbors.
In Multnomah County, 766 unsheltered people have died in the last 10 years. 126 people in 2020 alone. This night of remembrance is for all of them.
I lived on the streets for over half of my life.
Today, Alan Evans is founder and CEO of Helping Hands Reentry Outreach Centers. The nonprofit operates Bybee Lakes Hope Center, where they're gathered now. The transitional housing facility provides beds, homeless services, job training, treatment, and more. 2 years ago, it was the Wapato Correctional Facility, which never opened.
There was barbed wire and everybody said it was a prison. This isn't a prison, this is a transformation and a redemption and an opportunity.
In Vancouver, a similar vigil. Those here remembered 30 people who lived and died without shelter. Adam Kravitz is a service provider now, but he too spent time on the streets.
Just after so many years of living out there and not sure if I was going to make it through the year, to be able to be part of this and to speak out and to speak up for people, I can't never not do this event.
Both of these vigils are happening on the winter solstice, and that's by design. It's the longest night of the year. A reminder that for those living outside on the street, every night is long and difficult.
Can you imagine trying to survive every second of your day, just figuring out how you're going to stay warm, and then be asked to follow up with all of these appointments in different locations?
Looking for something.
For Evans, it's a comfort knowing that those who find help in this place will likely avoid that hardship. Each one of them a light in the shadow of too many deaths. In North Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
In Vancouver, a step towards a solution for the homeless community just ahead of Christmas. On Thursday, the city's first Safe Stay community is slated to officially open. Today, we got a tour of the 20 tiny homes on city-owned property near Northeast 112th Avenue and State Route 500. Each tiny home will have 2 beds, a heater, and electricity, among other things. Up to 40 people will be able to live in this community. We spoke to one man who will be moving in with his girlfriend later this week.
This will help us because it's rent-free, so it helps us save money to be able to get to an apartment, to get ourselves steady and everything. I used to have an apartment, so it's nice, and to be coming back up from being down so low, it's awesome.
The city of Vancouver hopes to open several additional Safe Stay communities by summer. Meanwhile, Portland city leaders are trying to do something very similar. They've identified a few properties and hope to open their Safe Rest villages early next year. New tonight at 11, one person has died following a pedestrian crash in North Portland. This happened on North Fremont and 44th right before 6 o'clock tonight. Police said one person died from their injuries while another person was taken to the hospital. The driver stayed on scene. Roads were closed as police investigated. They're also asking witnesses to call police if they have any information on this crash. In response to the now dominant Omicron variant, President Biden is updating the administration's COVID battle plan, promising millions of free at-home COVID testing kits, more testing sites, and military troops to aid hospitals.
The federal government will purchase $500 million, that's not million, billion with a B, additional at-home rapid tests with delivery starting in January. We'll be getting these tests to Americans for free. And we'll have websites where you can get them delivered to your home. We've arranged for it to be easier for you to find a free COVID testing site near you on Google.
This plan marks a major shift for Biden, whose earlier plan had called for many Americans to purchase the hard-to-find tests on their own and then seek reimbursement from their health insurance. And as we navigate this latest surge of the Omicron variant, concern from local restaurant owners is rising. They hope to get some relief from the federal government, and Art Edwards tells us many are scrambling to stay in business.
I think it's a situation of desperation for most business owners.
Wedgehead in Northeast Portland is a bar, restaurant, pinball arcade combination. The owner thought things were getting better, but then came the Omicron variant.
And the first things that always go are dining establishments, restaurants, bars. The first thing that everyone does when a new variant comes out is cut down on their exposure levels.
Dan and Louise Oyster Bar has been in Portland since 1907. Usually they depend on a strong holiday season, bolstered by SantaCon. The event returned this year, but the crowd was smaller, and overall they've seen fewer diners over the last few weeks.
You can definitely tell that there's been a lot less people coming in to dine. I think people are a little more worried than they were.
Since March of 2020, the Oregon-based Independent Restaurant Coalition has been working to help restaurants get funds to help them remain open.
The kitchen is the heartbeat of the home. Your restaurant is the heartbeat of your community.
In May, the federal government made millions of dollars of relief money available to restaurants. More than 5,000 Oregon restaurants applied for funds. Fewer than half got money. Wedgehead is one of those that did not receive any help.
We're struggling in the sense that, you can't really weather any more bad months or dips.
Earlier this month, the coalition sent an open letter signed by thousands of restaurant owners to Congress asking for refunding of the Restaurant Relief Fund.
That letter, again, is begging and pleading for the attention that we need to save an industry that's not only important to Oregon, but is important across the country.
Wedgehead's owner signed the letter. He says relief funds would make a huge difference.
If we were to get that funding, I would give us a 9 out of 10 success rate for the future.
The hope was that lawmakers would act before their holiday break. Since that didn't happen, the hopes of many restaurants are now on hold until lawmakers return to work on January 3rd. Art Edwards, KGW News.
In Washington, Clark County health officials heard from parents today on the decision to suspend high school wrestling because of COVID. The county health officer made that recommendation last week, and school districts in the county chose to take that advice. The sport is on pause until January 3rd. The move stems from hundreds of positive COVID-19 cases linked to multiple wrestling tournaments across the state.
The idea was to interrupt the virus transmission occurring within the teams and prevent the outbreaks from spreading into the schools and the community. And we certainly have and continue to recognize and appreciate the importance of athletics.
Based on public comment, some believe the sport was unfairly targeted, while others approved the suspension. The University of Oregon announced this week it'll require boosters for students and staff who plan to be on campus. Christine Pidewanich looks to see if other colleges have similar plans in the works.
Thousands of students and employees at the University of Oregon who show up in person on campus will now have to get a COVID-19 booster shot. This is in addition to the institution's existing vaccine requirement. We checked in with other colleges and universities, and here's what we found. Oregon State University, Portland State University, University of Portland, Oregon Institute of Technology, and Southern Oregon University have not made a decision, and no booster requirement is in place, though all are paying close attention to the COVID-19 variants and information from health officials. Portland Community College isn't requiring vaccines, so it's not requiring a booster either. While OSU hasn't officially made a decision yet, it's likely the institution may eventually follow in U of O's footsteps.
My name is Steve Clark. I'm Vice President for University Relations and Marketing at Oregon State University. Well, over the next week or so, we'll continue to evaluate information being provided by the CDC, by Oregon Health Authority, and by local health authorities in the counties in which we operate. And we'll make judgments based upon the guidelines and the guidance provided by science and by health authorities.
Clark says the vast majority, more than 93% of students and employees are fully vaccinated, and the school is encouraging the university community to get the booster before holiday gatherings and before coming back to campus on January 3rd. Meantime, the University of Oregon says more details about its requirement involving things like deadlines will be announced once they're finalized. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
A former Multnomah County Sheriff's deputy is resigning after stealing blank vaccination cards. The Sheriff's Office launched an investigation into Robert Haney in June. Today, he pleaded guilty. Haney stole the cards from the Multnomah County Jail. As part of his plea deal, he has to resign from the department and serve 6 months probation. The judge also added a $500 fine. An investigation found Haney made a photocopy of a coworker's vaccination card and then filled in the cards with that person's information. He planned to give those cards to family members.